As we search for unknown life forms, we're looking at stars. Meanwhile, the unknown world is right next to us, hidden beneath the surface of the water. A fascinating story, written by nature, captured by humans. Unique stories hidden in the depths. Underwater Planet. In pursuit of reefs, wrecks, and giant sea creatures, we often don't appreciate just how much inland diving has to offer. Buried deep within the landscape, the underwater planet can surprise and fascinate. It hides mysterious ruins, wondrous rock formations, and unique creatures that can only be found in a single place in the world. In our search for the inland planet's most beautiful locations, we will embark on a trip around the world. The places we're about to enter are absolutely unparalleled. Although remote, difficult to access, and not often frequented, some are on the list of our planet's most beautiful diving locations. Others are home to remarkable animals that cannot be found anywhere else. There are also places where we can marvel at uncanny natural phenomena. Yet all share one common feature. They are all located deep inland. Mountains are not commonly associated with diving. However, it is here that we can find the world's clearest rivers and lakes, where visibility can reach up to 70 meters. The Alps are the longest and highest mountain range in Europe. Here, we have selected 3 unique places. The Vesaska Valley. Carved and shaped by the fast-paced river of the same name, it is without doubt a wonder of nature. It owes its name, which is a combination of the Italian words verde, meaning green, and acqua, meaning water, to the beautiful shade of green the water takes while flowing down its colorful rocks. We're particularly interested in the section that is located to nearby Lavitezzo village. Here, over the course of thousands of years, the river has carved out natural 10-meter deep basins where we can dive and marvel at the miraculous rock formations. The fascinating waters of the Vesaska are anything but safe. The strong, swift currents can be particularly treacherous. Divers must be especially cautious. The best conditions are in summer and early autumn, when the water level is highest. Bathed in sunlight, we travel along the rocky riverbed. The rocks are perfectly polished and devoid of any sharp edges. The light, combining with these surreal shapes, creates an amazing spectacle. We finish our trip along the Vesaska at one of the most famous and picturesque points. Just below the Ponte dei Salti Bridge, which due to its characteristic shape is called the Roman Bridge. It is one of the biggest tourist attractions in the area, and also a place where those brave enough can jump into the river's ice-cold waters. The beauty of this place, and the fact that it has some of the cleanest waters in Europe, makes Vesaska one of the biggest inland attractions for divers. Switzerland. This tiny European country possesses a staggering 6% of Europe's freshwater resources. Ticino, a small region near the border with Italy, famous for lakes, rapid rivers and streams, is a favorite of kayak and diving enthusiasts. Here, surrounded by wild, difficult-to-access peaks, flows the Maggia. We're heading upstream, past the tiny settlements on its banks, such as Fusio, an 800-year-old village home to tall buildings that perfectly match the alpine scenery. The Maggia begins on the 3,000-meter-high slopes of the Cristallina. As it rushes down, it collects water from various streams, creating lesser and greater waterfalls, and gives birth to flow-through lakes. These lakes are the perfect place to see the underwater nature of mountain reservoirs up close. Lake Sassolo, a unique reservoir sitting at 2,000 meters above sea level. In winter, it's frozen solid, but in summer, there's a lot of sunshine here. As the temperature rises, the ice begins to melt. This is the best time to go diving amongst the enormous icebergs. The water is very cold, approximately 2 degrees Celsius, but the sunlight still manages to melt the frozen surface of the lake. Then the enormous chunks of frozen water slowly break away from the bottom, taking rocks and even larger stones to the surface with them. Chunks of ice can take on amazing shapes, but their edges can be very elegant and subtle. The sunlight is so intense that it manages to penetrate through the ice, illuminating its interior. From beneath the surface, we can observe the snow-covered mountaintops surrounding the lake. An entirely different experience awaits us when visiting Green Lake in the Austrian Alps. It was also named after the azure color of its crystal clear water. For most of the year, the lake is only 1 meter deep, and there's neither the possibility nor any point in exploring it. However, in spring, when the glaciers begin to melt, the water level rises to 12 meters. Covering the trees, meadows, footpaths, and benches. And fish begin to take the place of insects and birds. For divers, there is nowhere else in the world where they can go for an underwater walk in a place where tourists usually take a stroll. The mountain lakes and rivers that we have dived in are entirely the work of Mother Nature, and only she can take full credit for their beauty. However, there are also underwater locations that owe their unique character to humans and their actions. If these were above ground, they would have remained unnoticed. Hidden underwater, they gain an entirely new dimension. Divers often choose artificial reservoirs for their underwater exhibitions. One of the most interesting places of this sort is a flooded quarry in southern Poland, popularly called the Diggers. Its story is quite remarkable. The former owner of the quarry went bankrupt. Due to his outstanding debts, the power was cut off, causing the water pumps to stop. Consequently, the 18-meter deep site was flooded, along with the 2 diggers that now rest on the bottom. The machines are in perfect condition, frozen in time, waiting to resume their work. And this is how an unattractive quarry was transformed into a charming site that is often frequented by diving enthusiasts. From Poland, we move to Italy. Our destination is another artificial reservoir, Lake Capo d'Acqua, located in the Abruzzo region at the heart of the Apennine Peninsula. The lake itself was created in 1960 as a reservoir to water the nearby fields. It is beautifully set between the villages of Capistrano and Capo d'Acqua that are located on small hills and surrounded by vineyards. In medieval times, long before the lake was created, 2 stone mills and a dye factory were built just above the stream that coursed through the valley. As industry developed in the 20th century, the mills and factory were no longer profitable, and a decision was made to close them down and flood the valley. This decision has left us with a unique underwater museum. The buildings can be clearly seen from the air, and the ruins of the dye factory pierce through the lake's surface. The shallow depths and lack of current make this place accessible even for beginner divers. Diving here is like taking a stroll through a medieval town. The sturdy foundations and walls lie 9 meters below the surface. Thanks to the spring water that falls into the reservoir, the visibility is excellent, and the ruins are so vast that it takes a full hour to explore them. We now approach the ruins, following an old stone levee. The first mill is almost completely destroyed. When we have a closer look, we can see what is left of the water wheel, with the remnants of the blades that once drove the millstones. Seeing the wide, solid stone foundations, we can get an idea of the true size of the building. Diving in Italy is almost always accompanied by beautiful sunny weather. This historic green valley still remains green, but this time thanks to the underwater plants that inhabit it. The second mill is in better condition. The remains of the walls almost reach the surface. We can only imagine how these large halls once teemed with workers. Underwater tourism allows us to marvel at the remnants of the past through a different perspective that is unlike anything we're able to see on the surface. Capo d'Acqua is intriguing and slightly surreal. No wonder it made the list of our planet's 50 most beautiful diving destinations. One of the places that's at the top of that list is Lake Baikal, every diver's dream. At 1.5 kilometers deep and 25 million years old, it is the deepest and oldest lake in the world. Located in the heart of Asia, in a rift valley, it is surrounded on 3 sides by steep mountain slopes that can reach over 2,000 meters high. The lake contains approximately 20% of the world's fresh water. In this region, the climate is harsh, with the water temperature fluctuating from 12 degrees Celsius in the summer to 4 degrees Celsius in the winter. The best time to go diving under the ice-covered surface of Lake Baikal is around March. The ice covering of the lake is so deep that there is no danger that it will collapse. Underwater, the ice isn't as smooth as on the surface. It's full of uplifts and cracks. These can be dangerous, as the safety line, which is there to ensure our safe return, could easily get caught in one of the cracks. Without it, finding our way back to the ice hole would be virtually impossible. That is why diving under the ice is reserved for people with the proper training and experience. The main precautions are the safety line and a partner that controls its length and tension on the surface. The line also serves as our means of communication with the surface. In case of any danger, our partner can use it to quickly pull us up. Once we're sure everything is safe, we can begin to explore this one-of-a-kind underwater world. The uncanny shapes that the ice can take and the incredible dance of light and shadow make diving under the ice the ultimate experience. Lake Baikal remains attractive regardless of the season. Summer is a great time to observe its unique marine life. As a result of millions of years of isolation from other waters, a unique freshwater fauna has evolved here that is rich in endemic species. The only mammal that inhabits these waters is the famous Baikal seal, also known as the Nerpa. How it got here remains a mystery to this day. Baikal is thousands of kilometers away from places inhabited by other seal species. The most probable theory is that it wandered here from the Arctic Sea during the Ice Age. As a result of its isolation, the Nerpa is the only seal that lives in fresh water. Baikal seals are very cautious and vigilant. If they had noticed our presence, they would have disappeared into the depths. Since 2002, hunting the Baikal seal has been strictly forbidden, making this unique mammal safe from extinction. Under the surface, Baikal is ruled by gammarids, tiny crustaceans roughly 2 centimeters in size. Several species with various shapes and sizes live in the lake. There are transparent and blind ones that have adapted to life in the depths. There are also bright-colored ones which have chosen to live in the shallow coastal regions. All have a characteristic arc-shaped body, and thanks to agile legs, they quickly move about on the bottom. However, even underwater, it is possible to trip and fall. They feed on everything they can find in their path. Animal and plant remains, or animals even smaller than them. The breeding process of the gammarids is really quite remarkable. First, they need to find each other. In order to do that, the female lures the male with pheromones. The act itself is spectacular, as it resembles the battle of two prehistoric beasts. The male clutches onto the female and tries to turn her around so that their abdomens can touch. Only then can he inseminate the eggs that are located in the brood chamber in the abdomen of the female. She will then carry them until they hatch. The male wanders off in search of another female. The green seaweed and sponges that cover rocks and stones make the bottom of Baikal a very characteristic place. Clear, cold water is a great habitat for life. The green Baikal sponges provide shelter for countless microscopic creatures and slightly bigger crustaceans. The sponges also play an important role in filtering the water. One sponge is capable of filtering hectoliters of water every day, absorbing microplankton and removing all pollution. Apart from sponges, the bottom is inhabited by green algae, Spirogyra. These oxygen-rich waters are a perfect environment for them to grow. This is not the only place in the world with its own unique ecosystem. There are other remarkable locations where one species has dominated the entire reservoir, and its behavior, given its survival mechanism, is quite a spectacle. The tiny jellyfish lake lies on El Mulk Island. The island belongs to Palau, a country spread out over 250 tiny islands in the Pacific Ocean. The islands emerge from the water scattered along the reef, creating a fabulous picture that resembles the ideal tropical paradise. Both on land and underwater, it is one of the greatest wonders nature has to offer. Jellyfish Lake is one of them. It was created at the end of the Ice Age, when the ocean waters flooded the fissure where it lies today. Isolated from the outside world, it is home to species that can be found nowhere else on Earth. The local jellyfish live in symbiosis with a species of algae that provides them with food. In order to do that, the algae need two things: chemicals from the demersal waters of the lake and sunlight for photosynthesis. Every morning, a remarkable festival takes place here. The jellyfish, which spend their nights in the demersal areas of the lake, begin their journey towards the surface. Then, for the remainder of the day, they try to avoid shady areas of the lake. This DL horizontal migration is something unseen in other species of jellyfish. The only real threat to the jellyfish are anemones, which prey on careless individuals. This one was really lucky. It managed to escape the clutches of the anemone at the very last second. What's important for us is that in the absence of other threats, not counting the anemones, the jellyfish have lost their nematocysts. This provides us with the unique opportunity of diving amongst them. Snorkeling is the only type of diving allowed in the lake, as the air exhaled by divers can harm the delicate bodies of the jellyfish. There are only a handful of such lakes in the world, including 4 in Palau. Jellyfish Lake is the only one where diving is allowed. It's definitely worth it, as the experience is unforgettable. What makes the jellyfish from Palau remarkable is that they have learned to dive in a circadian rhythm, following the sun. Migration in oceans is nothing out of the ordinary. Many species travel, often thousands of kilometers in search of food or to breed. One of the most amazing journeys is that of the salmon. In order to take a closer look at it, we move to Alaska, one of the greatest bastions of wildlife on Earth. The biggest state in the USA is also its least populated. Wild mountains, crystal clear water, and animals in their natural habitat. This is the kingdom of the grizzly bear. Salmon travel here in great numbers. These fish spend their entire life in the ocean. Once they mature, they swim to inland waters to reproduce. It is estimated that over 20 million Pacific salmon enter the waters of Alaska each year. This is the best time for the grizzlies. By the end of summer, they will have had the opportunity to store up enough fat to survive the long winter. The number of salmon is so vast that the usually solitary bears begin to tolerate each other's presence. Observing the salmon, we can bear witness to their frantic race. The fish must battle a strong current and numerous cascades. The grizzlies know exactly where to find exhausted individuals. Swimming upstream, the Pacific salmon endure a lot to reach their remote spawning grounds. Often traveling hundreds and sometimes even thousands of kilometers. That's why they need to rest in places just like this, where the water is still to gather enough strength to take on the next obstacle. Every year, for thousands of years, this spectacle has repeated itself. From Alaska, we travel to Iceland, another stop on our journey that is not associated with diving. However, just like on its surface, Iceland is one of a kind underwater. Iceland is the kingdom of geysers. Most tourists come here to marvel at those located on the surface. But this is one of the few places on Earth where we can observe them underwater. In the river Litla, we can see something absolutely remarkable: underwater geysers. The sand on the bottom looks like thick, boiling liquid. The river is situated in the middle of a very active volcanic area. Not far from here, two tectonic plates meet, often resulting in earthquakes that create fissures near the river and in the riverbed. The water that enters these fissures is heated, and when it reaches boiling point, it shoots out from the fissure. Right now, we're looking at this phenomenon. Iceland is a wonderland home to unique landscapes. Tall cliffs, flow-covered fjords, numerous waterfalls, and beautiful lakes filled with the cleanest glacier water. The visibility is perfect and is unlike anywhere else in the underwater world. Ahead lies Silfra, a tectonic fissure between the Eurasian and North American tectonic plates. Both plates are moving away from each other at 2 centimeters every year. This has caused earthquakes that gave birth to this deep canyon. It was quickly filled with water flowing down from the glaciers. When diving here, we're literally swimming between 2 continents. From Iceland, we move to the southern United States. Both of these places have rich environments, but they couldn't be more different. Florida basks in green. Over 2/3 of its surface is covered in forests, marshes, swamps, and lakes. Despite the development of civilization and its high industrialization, Florida has managed to maintain its pristine nature. That is why this place is home to one of the most charming of all sea mammals, the manatee. With any luck, we'll get a chance to meet them along this river. Florida manatees, a subspecies of the Caribbean manatee, are the largest representatives of the Sirenia order. They can be up to 4 meters long and can weigh around 1 ton, although there are individuals that weigh up to 1.5 tons. Their caudal fin is rounded, and their front extremities have transformed into fins. If we take a closer look at them, we can see vestigial signs of hooves. The long, flat tail is ideal for swimming, and is the reason why manatees are historically and scientifically referred to as sirens. It's difficult to find any other similarities to the beautiful, mythical women of that name. Today, these animals are popularly called sea cows. Young manatees, just like all other mammals, feed on their mother's milk. The young manatee approaches its mother and forces her to rise from the bottom. Getting fed can require an awful lot of agility. Manatees have characteristically extended nostrils, allowing them to inhale air while remaining submerged. They also like each other's company. And it seems that they've taken us as one of their own, as their mouths practically touch our mask. They don't seem to mind our presence. They're very trusting, mainly because they've never had a natural enemy. Until humans. These beautiful creatures are highly endangered. That's why diving in their natural habitat is strictly regulated. Meeting these friendly mammals which have been saved from extinction is the perfect conclusion to our journey inland. While scouring the seas and oceans for underwater thrills, we shouldn't forget about the rivers and lakes. Sometimes, true treasure lies just around the corner, waiting to be discovered.